So it is time to preview the Friday games of week 3 of Super Rugby. We have the Blues versus the Crusaders and the Rebels versus the Waratahs. Just before I get to that, I just want to say SkinnyBru turned 1 year old this week. Thanks for everyone that has been subscribing, everyone that has supported me on every platform, and all the encouragement that I get in all the comments and the tips and all that stuff. I do appreciate all of that. The first game we're going to look at is the New Zealand derby this weekend. It is the Blues versus the Crusaders. Both teams, they are on a 50-50 record this year so far. The Blues, they had an 8-point loss to the Chiefs, but they beat the Waratahs by 20 points, whereas the Crusaders played against the same opponents where they beat the Waratahs by 18 points and lost to the Chiefs by 10 points. So if you look at those two records of the two teams, they are actually pretty similar on form at the moment. History is all Crusaders at the moment. The Blues haven't won against the Crusaders in the last 10 games at all. The last time the Blues beat the Crusaders is back in 2014. But these battles do tend to be separated by one try. The Blues, they did outplay the Waratahs last week, while the Crusaders, they faced a tough Chiefs team without their talisman in their side, Mahunga at number 10, where Havili shifted to number 10. That might have been a bad gamble for them, and it did not pay off for them. But this weekend, if I highlight some of the key changes or key matchups, we are going to look at the Blues. They only have a couple of changes. Parsons coming in at number 2. Tuungafasi in tight head. He will be strengthening the side in the prop rankings. And they will need a strong platform to lay the basis for their attack this weekend, because the Crusaders is a tough team. The other change in the team, Akira Ioane, he is out of the team now, dropping from the bench with Lambourne coming in. The Crusaders, the most notable change for them, they brought in their talisman, as I call him, Mahunga. He is back at number 10. They missed him last weekend with his injury, and he is probably one of the best playmakers in New Zealand. Just the ability for him to sniff out a try out wide with that cross kicks he can do is just brilliant. Havili, he is back at number 15. I think he will probably continue taking goal kicks. It's just a difficult one to call on fantasy rugby though, because he is my goal kicker. I just don't know if Mahunga is gonna kick now again. If you want to join that, it is down in the links below. Will Jordan then moves to the bench with Douglas out as well. That means Sanders moves to the number 8 spot, and Grace also gets a spot at the side of the scrum. The key matchups for me in this game, the front row with the Blues, they have 2 all-black props against the Crusaders as one. The hookers, Parsons versus Taylor. I think that's also going to be a big battle. Tuipulotu versus Barrett at the lineouts. That's going to be a big one for me as well. How Grace competes with Papali'i. Perafeta, he might be a little bit out of depth against Mahunga in this one. Mahunga, he will want to show what he means to the Crusaders and just want to get the Crusaders back their points that they missed out on last weekend. The 4 centers, all of them are world class. I think that's going to be big for me in this week. And then for me, the try scorers that are going head to head this weekend, it is Talia, who scored 3 tries last week. And of course, Reese, we know how many tries he can score. So it is going to be a big matchup for me. I think it is going to be a typical New Zealand derby where we are going to see a couple of runs, some great tries we can expect for this one. My prediction though, the Blues looked dangerous with ball in hand last week. The Crusaders not so much without Mahunga, but he is back. You could see at the end of the game how disappointed Scott Barrett was that the Crusaders did lose that game. And it just gave me that idea that the next team to face the Crusaders will feel their wrath. And unfortunately, it is the Blues now. They will probably face a bounce back from the Crusaders. The Blues will want to fight back, but I think they will come short. I think the Crusaders will win by 10. The second game on Friday is a big Aussie derby with the Rebels versus the Waratahs. Both teams, they have no wins in the 2020 season so far, nothing under the belt. So that'll change definitely this weekend. Either one of the teams will get a win or both will get a draw, but one of them is going to get something, or both of them. The Rebels, they lost by 9 points to the Sunwolves and then by 13 points to the Brumbies. The Waratahs lost with 18 points to the Crusaders and 20 points to the Blues. So Both not the best record so far. For me, if you look at it, the Rebels probably has a smaller margin that they lost so far with, but those results are against easier teams, especially the Sunwolves. We've only seen them play once though, so it's a difficult one. The history of the two teams though, it is 9 out of 10 for the Waratahs. The Rebels last time beat the Waratahs back in 2016. This weekend will come down to who is more desperate to get the win under their belt. The key changes for the Rebels, they shuffled a bit in their whole team. The South African Lawrence is replacing Lumani at number 9. It is a bit of a shock to me. Lumani isn't doing badly, but hey, they want to shuffle things a bit around. Also in the back line for the Rebels, Magnay, he is in 13. Hodge shifts out to 14. And then up front, they brought in Hardwick at flanker, replacing Cottrell, who scored 2 tries last weekend, who finds himself on the bench. I don't think many people find themselves on the bench after scoring 2 tries the previous week, but hey, weird changes from Vessels, but hey, that's what they did. For the Waratahs, the coach opted with a promising junior Wallaby prop Angus Bell over the Wallaby prop Tom Robertson. It's a bit of a shock to me as well, a bit of a gamble maybe. I don't know what to make of this prop yet. He hasn't played a lot of minutes, but he's looked strong when he's come on. The big change so far for the Waratahs, they brought in Maddox to start against his old team. That's going to be a big one. And then Clark, he is on the wing as well, with Newsom shifting to 13. Holloway, he is on the flanker with Swinton on the bench. Both teams, they shuffled a bit around, so the matchups could be interesting with some of these guys getting some starting roles for the first time this season. The second row, I think, is going to be a big one with Simmons and Staniforth versus Phillip and Haylett Petty. They could be equally matched in this department. How Wells does against his previous team featuring Hooper. Then Harrison, the fly-off for the Waratahs, he also has quite a big matchup against the Wallaby of Tamua. But Harrison, he has looked promising in last week's game. I kind of gave them a bit of slack for picking a young guy at number 10 and not shifting Beale in. Last weekend, I saw a bit more of him. I saw what they see in him. I think he might be a prospect for the future, and now is the time to show against the Wallaby what he can do. Out wide, the big matchup for me is Hodge, the all-rounder in the Rebel side, versus Maddox against his old side, and obviously he is a try-scoring machine. Both teams haven't had the best starts to the season. Both will look for their first points so far. The scrums will be big as always, with the Waratahs probably having a slight advantage in this one. They might get a couple of more penalties and slot overs to the poles, or get some lineouts from that. Mauls will also be a big battle with the Waratahs second row. Could be stopped by the Rebels second row. The Rebels, they are definitely better running with the ball, but the shuffled back line especially, how will that fare with that running ball? They lost with 13 points last week to the Brumbies. That's better than the 20-point loss to the Blues. So, I don't know. This is a very hard decision for me. This is probably the hardest one for Friday. I always say I go with my gut when it comes to these Superbru type of predictions. I say the Rebels by 2, but it could go either way. Guys, let me know down in the comments your predictions for these Friday games. Also, check out any of these other videos popping up next to me. And if you want to visit the Superbru, the links are down below. Cheers.